All right. Welcome everybody to the webinar. Today we're going to we've got some heavy hitters here from the ITOM visibility world. We're going to talk about discovery best practices. Let's see here. Just hit the next slide. Just to let you know, we do this on a monthly basis. We have these live on ServiceNow webinars and meetups. If you scan the QR code, you can get a link to register that. And after my section, I'll also paste in the chat the link so you can open it up. If you're not already registered, if someone forwarded this on to you, please register for future webinars. We do it generally on the third Tuesday of every month. Just some housekeeping. Everybody's line's muted. Um, I want to let you know that we will handle questions in the Q&A. So if you do have any questions, and we've got Richard and Doug here, and I believe there's also Ryan and Steve Emerson and Gabby. We've got a whole team here that can answer your questions. So please use the Q&A feature to ask your questions. And please participate in any polls. Oh, shoot. Okay. I just thought of something. I forgot the polls. And then also, this session is being recorded and it will be shared on the community link. So, we'll show you that link at the end of the thing. So if you want to watch any other webinars, you can see those recordings. And then after the session ends, if you could, will you please fill out the short survey? We really appreciate your feedback and we want to know what else you'd like to see and how we did on this one. So, all right, let's quick introductions. My name is Derek Kitzelman. I'm a staff outbound product manager. I'm in the ITOM business unit and I cover ITOM visibility and Cloud Accelerate and AI Ops Leap with my partner, John Mario DeLuigi, who's done other webinars. And then Steve Emerson is also on our team. Richard, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Richard Brownstein. I'm a senior solution consultant for ServiceNow. I'm out of New York City. I specialize in our ITOM visibility, and I'm out of New York City. I'm sorry, I've been with ServiceNow for 10 years.
All right, Doug, we'll go next.
Thanks, Derek. Hey, Richard. My name's Doug Schulze. I've been here at ServiceNow for about 17 years. Focus on ITOM and discovery, currently with our impact team, supporting our great customers in that place and getting them excited about ITOM as well. Thanks, Derek.
All right, thanks. Hold on real quick. All right. Yes. Next slide here. Okay, just a quick agenda. We're going to talk about implementation guidance. Then we're going to talk about best practice configurations, extending capabilities discovery. And then Richard's going to do a quick demo for us. And we'll, with any time left, we'll have, Q&A to where we can answer your questions live. Once again, though, if you, have any questions while we're going through the slides and through the demo, please utilize the Q&A function. All right. So, just quickly, visibility is the foundation for technology excellence. When we think about all of the technology workflows, whether it be AI ops, asset management, security and risk, facilitating or accelerating cloud transformation, the CMDB is that foundational data in the ServiceNow platform. So really success with any of the other workflows from a technology perspective, and even from customer management, is based on getting data in the CMDB, and not just inventory data, but also relational data, right? So when we think about the CMDB, is having that business context or that service awareness really drives better outcomes in all of the other workflows, whether incident, change management, problem management, et cetera, right? And we understand that just using ServiceNow Discovery and service mapping is, not the only source of truth out there. So we do support ingesting data for either population and or enrichment of the CMDB from trusted third-party sources, right? So that being, service graph connectors, right? So whether those are cyber management solutions, asset management, endpoint user compute management, risk and compliance tools, and even, operational technology solutions like intrusion detection systems, right? We've got, close to 100 different service graph connectors on the store. So you can leverage your existing investments to ingest and enrich the CMDB. But in this, this particular session, we are going to focus on ServiceNow Discovery. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Doug and let him take over here. And I will get this question out really quick on the poll. So Doug, go ahead and here's the next slide. And I will get that poll going and get it displayed to everybody here in a second.
All right, thank you so much. And what a nice intro. Thank you very much for your kind words and appreciate everybody being here. As I mentioned, I've been around ServiceNow for a while and I love talking discovery. So let's have a good time with this. And again, please use the Q&A because if we can't get to questions here on the webinar, um, in that we always take those back and make sure we get every question answered and then posted with the videos and such. So definitely use that forum. All right, let's jump forward there. There.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to talk about a bit around implementations. Now, I know a lot of folks may already be using Discovery in their environments today, and some of you might actually just, hey, we're gonna be starting this, and this is why I wanted to get ahead of the game by joining this great webinar. One of the things that all wraps up those together, those that have been doing Discovery, and those are new at Discovery, and those are gonna be great at Discovery. Um, the key thing that I've always found is gain success is that executive sponsorship, that first number one bullet. Because in discovery, we break down silos. We get into other people's worlds, into their computers, their servers, their applications, their different networks. And while everybody wants a robust and powerful CMDB to help the business overall, um, getting into roadblocks is just way of the game. And by having that executive sponsorship, that individual that's over the entire groups that you're trying to work with and to populate your CMDB is very, very critical because that's the person that you can go to and saying, hey, you know what? The Asia Pacific team is not very forthright with their credentials or helping us deploy mid servers. We need to get that to stop and get that work. So that's very, very key. And even over my years, as I've helped reinvigorate discovery in different environments, the one most common thread that I've seen is that loss of executive sponsorship over time. The discovery admins are just wayward souls by themselves saying, nobody really cares that we're here, what we're doing. So you definitely don't want to lose that. The second most important thing is, you know, always selling the value because you don't want to be that wayward souls I just described. Always showing folks, hey, look at the value I can bring. Hey, server team, look at these great servers I can bring in. Look at the relationships that we have. Look at, hey, business analysts and business process owners, look at these great maps we can build that can really help build our business and automate in the world of today. And then when you think about thinking the other products of ITOM, such as event management and cloud discovery and agents and such, bringing all that together can really make you the rock star of your own environments and your own worlds. Making sure they know that the value you're bringing is incredible to them, and the more they can help, better you can provide for them. And of course, always think of training. When I started, I was the trainer. I had to learn everything as I went. Um, but what I see today is that experience and that training that over all these years, Richard, myself, Ryan, we've helped build that training into what it is today. And I'm very proud of it. It's basic, but it gets you off the ground running. Don't try to figure it out and learn it on your own. Then I'll take discovery training later. No, take that training now before you get started so you get those foundations in your head and then you could apply those learnings. So definitely keep a eye out for in the now learning portals and such to be sure that you've taken all the available training. A lot of it's free. So really, really exciting way to keep your skills up and such. All right. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So, discovery, when we look at best practices, all starts with us, the admin. So you want to think about what do I need to do? Who should I, or maybe you're in the business and you're like, okay, who am I going to be pick to be my discovery administrator? Can we go back? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
And these are some of the things that I've noticed over all this time of what makes a good discovery administrator. Now, I pattern the good discovery administrator off myself, of course, with a wink. But in my previous life, I came from data centers. Um, and I was in charge of the global monitoring for those data centers for the Big Blue Death Star. So that really showed, not showed, it really provided me the foundations of, hey, you know what? I'm traveling across a network from point A to point B. What's within that network, that road that I'm driving on that could be impacting me? And then when I get to the host, I wanted to discover or monitor. And back in my day, okay, what type of credentials? How does this operating system interact with me? Is it command line? Is it GUI based? RDP, so on and so forth. So having a mix of all those skills that's foundationally in the data center is a really great head start for being a discovery admin because you've already, the difference between BGP and OSPF. You know what a VLAN is. You know what roadblocks you can come across. Now, you don't have to be the expert in networking, of course, no way, shape, or form. You want to be best buds with the experts in the networking and server side of the world, just so you can talk to them intelligently about how discovery is working. So usually, you look at these key factors and you want to either pick or grow your skills in those different areas to understand the really deep down technicals of how discovery actually works. In today's world, as we all know, it's getting to be, see light, push button, get treat. You know, AI do it all for me. Well, there's a lot of honor in the skill of being able to pop the hood of your own car and understand and diagnose the basics before you have to bring it to the mechanic. And that's the key of being a good discovery administrator. All right, we'll go to the next slide. Now, as that previous Mimi there showed us, and I call them Mimis, it's on purpose. Um, you got a job to do as a discovery admin. Don't let anybody ever fool you to say, hey, all you had to do was turn it on and set the schedule and put in IP addresses in a credential or two, and it's done. It's not. It takes care and feeding. I've had unfortunate friends out there that have done just exactly that. Walk into a project and say, yeah, discovery's already implemented, it's done. And I asked, who's the administrator? Well, we didn't need an administrator. The partner just set it up and it's running, so we're good. And I take a look at it and I say, oh goodness, do you realize 90% of your schedules are having over 80% errors? And some of them aren't even collecting anything. And they just thought just by turning it on, it takes that role. But we have a job to do in discovery, and that's very, very critical. Um, to monitor it, to grow it, to make sure it's getting in the items that we need um, collected. As we see down the list, credential management, figuring out, making sure you always have the most updated credentials and keeping your credentials rotating, obviously for better security practices. And again, showing how you can easily extend and configure discovery. And that being that active, always selling the value discovery admin participant. is somebody could be saying, you know what, man, I wish we knew the color of the power supplies on the ESX server, whatever the case may be, right? We would love to have been able to see X, Y, or Z as part of our discovery. Well, that's where the discovery admin comes in and puts on the cape and saves the day and says, hey, server team, what kind of questions can I ask to get that? Hey, CMDB team, where are we going to put this? Who's going to own those attributes? And how are we going to be consuming those? And then platform application folks, hey, we've got this great new data to include in your thing. So as you see, the discovery admin is a very, very critical piece of the overall business, um, and being active participant across the board, not only internally but externally. So long-winded, I apologize, but smaller environments, you may need one, two for backup discovery administrators. Sometimes it could be a part-time job if it's a smaller environment, like say a regional credit union I worked with. We had one discovery administrator, but she also happened to be the server admin, network admin, and basically installer of everything in their data center. Um, to when you get to really gigantic environments like major cellular companies, they have teams, 10 plus folks in some environments I've seen that are dedicated solely to making sure discovery's always running, always up to date with all their config pieces. Um, and that includes service mapping and cloud discovery as well. So as you can see, you get a global enterprise, you're going to need a full discovery staff to complement all the other processes of ServiceNow. All right, next slide.
Right.
Now, we like to highlight that being best friends with the security partnership, as I'm going to read this to you, because is key to success, right? When I was doing deployments way back in the horse-drawn discovery days, um, I would have 3 meetings in the beginning. And this is very important to know and understand because you think of the impact you're going to have throughout those silos. And the first meeting was with the biggest boss we can get, who signed the PO and the check with our gratitude. And then all the heads of the departments, the network team, the security teams, server teams, and so on and so forth. And I'd run through exactly what we needed for discovery and make sure at that table, at that meeting, everybody got their objections out. Very, very critical because the biggest challenge you have is post implementation and living in your day to day world. And someone coming up to you and saying, hey, we've just bought this great new company in South America. You need to go discover their data center so we know what we have as for inventory. And nobody's there to give you credentials because security team has not been coordinated with. So it's very, very important that you work with these different groups, and also understanding the different capabilities and requirements of those credentials. That Windows local admin credential on all the targets you're looking to discover. And then Linux with Unix sudo app. Oops, excuse me, words got tangled. Or with certain pseudo commands that are required. We have different applicative credentials and SNMP, of course, supporting even version 3, which has been around a while, but I still love saying it. And understanding how the mid servers work within ServiceNow and your world, knowing that our mid servers connect outbound only over port 443, and we don't make any inbound connections from the internet to that. So helping understand those mid servers and the ways that you can secure them really help overcome any challenges that folks may throw at you in regards to security. All right, next slide. So here's some of the very other important ones that you want to take a look at and really read through. Um, we need a Windows domain users, local admin privileges on the targets you're looking to discover. That's my spiel. I've said that sentence probably over 10 million times in my many great years here at ServiceNow. But understanding, okay, that's great. That's going to be your biggest challenge because the Unix and Linux folks are going to say, okay, we'll give you a regular user and some sudo. We're good with that. We know how that all works. But the Windows folks are a little bit more gun shy, so to speak. So understand what tools you have available to help overcome those same challenges. You know that we have WinRM, Windows Remote Management, I believe is the RM. Being able to do discovery without requiring all kinds of, 50 plus thousand WMI ports. Being able to use group service managed accounts, which is a really big win for a lot of folks out there in the Windows world. And then knowing that we have the capability to be able to use just enough admin, Windows version of sudo, like on Unix and Linux. That takes a little bit more work, heavy lift on for your Windows administrators to manage. But for discovery, it may be a good avenue for them to say, okay, we can give you these credentials if we can use this sudo or JEA for Windows. So you have tools to come back with and not just the same one liner of, hey, we need a domain user who has local admin privileges on targets we're looking to discover. So understand the capabilities that you have, not only in your environment today, but also um, any future growth or future environments that you may be working in. And of course, our agent. Very, very proud to say our agent. And it's weird because 17 years ago, we were saying very, very proudly that we are agentless. We don't need another agent on your host. ServiceNow Discovery can talk to it from afar and get the same value in your CMDB. Well, it's amazing how the tides have turned in not only in ServiceNow, but the business in the industry is to itself. Everybody loves agents now. And they are very, very valuable, and they really help answer and help us ServiceNow cross a huge gap that we were missing before when we were just horizontal based discovery, agentless based discovery. Um, it's a one agent for all. It does monitoring, it does event work, it does discovery for visibility, ACCV, and even in generally recent capabilities is the agent can run patterns. So the agent used to just run commands and gather data and bring it back, and here's your hardware. But the applications were kind of left behind. But our great development team and our great product management team, who's two of them are on this call right now, really pushed in, and we got this agent to be able to run our patterns. And why should we care about that? It's because now you can get that data from agent-based targets into service maps, because now we're able to run those application patterns and be able to really get down depth information from, say, SQL or Oracle or what have you. All right. Let's see what anything else here I missed. Let's see. Service graph connectors. Oh, that's a huge one. I don't get too much into it. I've always relied on my great friend Anne Marie Duffy, who you may have seen on the community, a great coworker of mine, and she is a service graph queen. And it's very, very powerful. It's very powerful because it's really to the heart of ServiceNow in our general existence from day one, where Fred said, we're not going to be a software island. We're going to be able to make sure that we can build bridges to every other tool out there. And integrations was our credo in the beginning. And now it's morphed and graphed and grown into service graph connectors. And there's a lot of great ones out there that you can use to populate that CMDB to help give you that even bigger overall picture. So really, really great stuff there. All right, mid server insecurity. Remember, put the mid servers where they're least restrictive access. You can read that, obviously. Mid servers, put them on the other side of the firewall. Put them in those secure environments. You may have the need, if you have even restricted down, like nobody can get out of this network. Think about networks and proxy configurations that can help work that information. We have I've had the pleasure to work with like cruise lines that on their internal ship networks we're doing discovery, but we had to get that data out of that ship network that was not internet facing into a mid server, into a mid server that could communicate, and we did that through network proxies and firewalls and such. So kept them locked down, but allowed the data to get out. So think of all these other options here within the comments, within the bullet points, of the mid-server security encryption. Know that you have a lot of control over the security, a lot of control that's going to put a lot of folks' minds at ease. So if they ever come up and start complaining or have deep, very probably held concerns about an application running in their environment, make sure to show all the different pieces of the mid server's encryption capabilities and configuration capabilities to help overcome those concerns. All right, we'll go to the next slide. All right, so this is a number the question. I've always loved this slide. This slide has been here since my first deck I ever built. And it came from the biggest pushback I ever got with credentials. And I kind of alluded to that earlier. And the key thing about, well, why do you need that domain user as local admin privileges on targets you're looking to discover? You may ask. See how I always use that same sentence? I do that on purpose because the minute you say, oh, yeah, we just need an admin user on Windows, without clarifying that, someone's going to take that information away, go to the company kitchen and tell their friend, like, oh, ServiceNow needs domain admin to do their discovery. This is ridiculous. So you always want to make sure that you clarify it's Windows domain users, local admin privileges on targets you're looking to discover. And the main thing, why do you need that? Is because of NetStat. And there's other considerations now. Like need to have access to the admin share. We have PowerShell discovery that needs to run scripts, those sorts of things. Um, those are added to it. But the key bottom line brass tacks is NetStat. NetStat, as we can all have probably read, gets our TCP connections. And those TCP connections are critical to mapping the processes or who are talking to each other. Now, sure, you can go if you just want a hardware inventory system. Sure, somebody can butcher a Windows user to be able to get you just that information. But when you think about the whole native picture of why do I need these Windows credentials at this level, it's because of all these different unique things. And it's not ServiceNow, it's our friend Bill who's decided that for us. So with a quick a smile on my face and smile on my voice to the friends that asked, I said, 1-800-Microsoft, Bill's waiting to take your call. And they laugh because they recognize that and they understand that. It takes the pressure off you and it takes the pressure off the company to say, you know, we have to work within Windows world. All right, next one. All right, so now let's talk about actual discovery stuff. I give you a lot of background, but it's always proved valuable to me in understanding all those different things that make up the foundations of the individual to utilize. Here's a couple best practice things that you want to do is utilize the new Discovery Admin Workspace. Now, I don't mean this to sound like a sales pitch or anything, but I know I've worked with and my friends here, Richard and Ryan, have worked with Steve and Shree to help really make that something valuable, to get, you know, a little bit more diagnostics, to get us those diagnostics on one page, you know, so when we do pop the hood, we understand what we're looking at. So I'd like to liken it to we've just installed that cool new 13-inch Tesla screen inside of our dashboard. And now we can really pick apart the different areas of discovery that are working or not working that need to be tuned. Man, I've got to copyright that phrase. The Discovery Admin Workshop, the Tesla screen of ServiceNow. Um, and Richard's going to give us a great demo of this at the end because it really gives you a lot of different ways to be able to work and manage and group errors and dealing with different parts of discovery, all the way down to learning uses and such. So if you have not deployed the Discovery Admin Workspace, it's available on the store. Make sure you use it, make sure it's up to date, and really drive in. You're going to see a lot of value you can get from this, give you a much more visual aspect of understanding how discovery is working. Next best tool I suggest is always your schedule naming. Now, schedule naming sounds silly. It's like it's just the name of something here, Doug. How is that a better practice? And you can see, well, my first bullet point assists with troubleshooting. It does. I go into many environments that just have, say, hey, I'm discovering the /24, and I'm going to name my schedule the same, the IP address 10.0.0/24. And when you have hundreds of them in there and something goes wrong or you're dealing with errors or such, trying to work through getting access to different targets, knowing where that is I've always thought 60% of the job. If I can have schedules that say, my Tokyo data center, my Sydney data center, my Singapore data center, and then have their ranges built within them. I know when I'm troubleshooting that schedule and I'm trying to figure out, hey, where are my credentials going wrong? How come I don't have this access to this range or whatever? I know, hey, I'm in Singapore. Let's talk to the people responsible for fixing Singapore instead of trying to figure out who owns this /24. And it also goes to great reporting. I still love reports in my discovery troubleshooting and make it just the way I like to do it. Um, Being able to group my reports by schedule name allows me to say hey, look, Tokyo's coming in with 10,000 errors a week. Sydney's coming in with 100 errors a week. I need to work on Tokyo. So it really helps understand how you're working. Now, you may have your own naming convention that will represent the same thing. Excellent. But just make sure to use those because it really helps understand where your focus needs to be. And while we're talking schedules, never forget about range sets. Range sets are ways to group IPs into one or many schedules. Range sets give you a single place where you can manage and maintain that environment. Now, you can add ranges to your individual schedule. Excellent, right? It works, it's how it's designed. But by utilizing range set really steps up your game in managing and maintaining how those environments are. So when the network team gives you their weekly spreadsheet of updates from that, you can go right to your range set table and make those changes and never have to worry about digging through hundreds, if not maybe thousands of schedules trying to find those IP ranges. So it's a great, great way. And also, which is very cool, integrations. This is heavily needed. Now, we have an integration to Infoblox. A lot of our great friends out there have posted integrations on the store, of course, to Infoblox that populate that range set table. So imagine how nice that would be to be able to have that ease of, I don't have to worry about if I'm going to get that spreadsheet straight away. Every day at midnight, we talk to Infoblox and we get the latest updates of what's been expanded, decreased, deployed, or what have you. And it's already included in your schedule. So very, very good thing to think about. And you look at your discovery properties under discovery definition properties. Oh, no, they moved. I think it's now system properties. They moved discovery down there. Some of these may be out of box if you're brand new, but these are some better practice clicks and switches that we love for you to turn. Firstly, looking at your trusted protocol name sources. So WMI is a trusted name source, SSH, SNMP. Really helps if you're having issues with name flapping. Maybe your DNS isn't as nice as it's supposed to be. Being able to use the hosts themselves to be able to set their own names and as they don't change is very, very critical. So it's a great way to have those set. So make sure you enable those three if you don't have them checked already. Be sure to make sure that IP probe cache is unchecked. Just a little background is a very ancient way that we tried to take processing load off the instance and have the mid server make the determination of whether or not data should be sent up and soon realized that the mid server at the time was not all that smart. So it never really worked the greatest way. So if you have that probe cache in your discovery property set, please be sure to uncheck that. And hopefully one day that whole box will disappear. Set that IP service affinity. Very important. Just like our credential affinity, that IP service affinity is going to help speed up your discovery and lighten the load of the attempts in discovering different systems. You think of how our credential affinity works. Well, IP service affinity works at the protocol level. So if I come across, say, a network device that has SSH and SNMP enabled, and I discover it out of box, I try to SSH to it, and then fail, obviously, and then SNMP query. Boom, it works. What we'll do is actually set that affinity saying, hey, at this IP address, we talked to it through SNMP because it was successful. And that way, the next time we discover it, it's going to say, hey, I know you're SNMP, so I'm not even going to try SSH. So we'll speed up your discovery and help lighten the load of errors and such. And also modify port probe classification. Now, this one I could not convince Sri to make this one be out of box, but switching between SSH and SNMP, this is in the port probes in your discovery definition. You have to expose it. It's not there by default on the form, but there's a field called classification priority. And SSH is 2 and SNMP is 3, meaning I'm going to try SSH first. And if that fails, I'm going to go to SNMP. And if that works, everything's great. By flipping these, you're going to eliminate a lot of errors, especially when it comes to your network devices. And make your network team happy with you again. It's because people will stop trying to SSH to their network devices. By a combination of those two properties and attribute settings, you're going to alleviate a lot of errors and help streamline your discovery. And finally, don't forget about event-driven discovery. I'm surprised that a lot of folks still don't really realize that we have things such as the vCenter event collector and all the collectors from the different cloud providers where you don't have to run your discovery every 6 hours because the vCenter world just changes so often. Is you can have vCenter send those events of VMs that have been created, turned on, powered off, moved, what have you, all kinds of different events that are available on the docs page, and be able to update your CMDB without needing to run a full discovery. It's huge, huge add, especially when dealing with different, very fluid environments. So if you're not using event-driven discovery, please definitely look into it. It doesn't cost any more because it's just updating everything and it's available to you today. All right, next slide. All right, so we talked about the mid-server location. We just love showing the pictures because we paid an intern a lot of money to represent something. But you see, have your mid servers inside secure environments. On the other side of the firewalls, know that we talk outbound only over SSL, but we need that full capability inside that network. So if you have a DMZ, for example, that's secure, put the mid server in the DMZ. You have a lot of ways to lock things down through credentials and mids and schedules to be able to keep those environments secure. My favorite example, and you'll have to extrapolate the rest off the rest of this, is I have a mid server in my DMZ. I have DMZ credentials that only that mid server can use, which I configure on the mid server form. And then only IP ranges that are part of the DMZ go to that schedule that's tied to that mid server that's sitting inside the DMZ or secured environment. So think of all the different ways, whether it be credential to mid, the credential third-party credential stores like CyberArk and such that you have to control the security. It's not like way back in my day where I just would have to hang my head a little bit and say, but it works really good though. Even though we have these gaps, I think Steve and Sri and Derek have done such an amazing job as a product team to every time they security comes up in our worlds, they play that whack-a-mole and get that resolved by giving us a new configuration that can help overcome it. So really get down deep if you're having security challenges. Next slide. All right, some better practices when it comes to mid servers. Always use load balance clusters. That's the grouping of the mids that you tie to one schedule or multiple schedules to get the job done. Think of their mid server as a team of inventory takers, of threads. So the more teams you have, the quicker your schedules get done. Don't ever have a single mid server on the same host doing the same job to the same instance, meaning don't put 2 mid servers or 3 mid servers or even 10 mid servers. There's somebody out there that did it on a single Windows host, all pointed to production, all doing discovery. As we always have loved to say in ServiceNow, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. But you can have the case of mid servers pointed, used for discovery, pointed to dev, pointed to prod. That's great because you only have one security issue to deal with, the mid-server host. So make sure you do that. Of course, you may have specific mids for cloud. You may have specific mids for agents, depending on the number of agents you deployed, and so on and so forth. So a lot of different configurations, but obviously make sure that host has the resources to support those different applications. Speaking of hosts, if you are in a deployment mode, always ask for more than what you need. While the checkbook is open, as I say, get the big daddy of server horsepower because it's better to have it, not need it, than need it later and not have it. Um, Very, very critical because folks have seen crazy growth in their discovery. They just go to nuts and they start open up the tap to go discover the world, and they soon learn that their mid servers are underpowered, and it's hard to go back to the business and say, "Hey, we need more money for more servers." So in the beginning, always ask. No, you have traffic through control your traffic through threads. Um, Not only increasing the threads, which you're going to do in the enterprise, you're going to do that. But what about lowering the threats? I've had occasions where I were discovering network gear in the Arctic without any exaggeration, satellite connected network gear, and they wanted it discovered. But if I had a lot of threads, I would saturate that network. So we lowered the threads. I think we got it down to like 3 or 5 threads just for that purpose, just so we can hit those routers or switches, whatever the heck that equipment was, on a pipeline next to a polar bear. So know that those threads work both ways for you. Hey, I can get a lot done fast, or I can get some stuff slow, depending on what you need. And of course, add memory to your JVM. But we all know to do that, don't we? Yeah. All right, next one. Next slide, please. And here you'll see I wrote this doc. Ryan and I put this together. Um, it's been a while, but it still works because I did it all, everything off based off patterns. This you're going to be able to find on the community. It's look for mid-server best practices. Um, And what you do here is you put in the values of what you're looking to discover, how many mids you're going to deploy, how many threads you're going to configure, and that will tell you approximately how long it's going to take. So you can see here, like, okay, we have 1,000 servers, one mid server, 25 threads. It's going to take approximately 4 hours to finish. And as you change the numbers, obviously the numbers go up and down. So if the business says, hey, wait a minute, no, 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 we need these computers discovered in 1 hour, well, that's where you would add more threads or add more mid-server applications. And of course, we have this section over here for agents, the number of agents that you want to deploy, and the number of JVMs that you have configured, and the amount of RAM per, and that'll tell you how many mid servers you need. And now, to be very upfront and honest, that was a while ago. And I know that the mid server team and the agent team have done amazing things in increasing the throughput for that. So that may be a little bit older and not as valuable because it's going to tell you that it's not as powerful as it is today. So just think about that. And this is available to you as you build out your mid server environments or grow. Next slide. All right. So think about all the different things that you can do. I'm not going to get too deep into this slide. It's kind of the sales pitchy slide, but it works. It helps us understand, hey, we have agent based, we have agentless, horizontal based, and we've got all these great service graph connectors and cloud service discoveries. So a lot of different ways to be able to skin the lemon, so to speak, and help folks understand that we have a lot of different ways to be able to populate the CMDB to support that business. Next slide. All right, we're going to extend real quick. All right, so we got a quick poll question. So usually I've used this to be able to figure out who I'm talking to in a lot of ways when I talk about extending. Folks are just starting, like I did, like we all did some at some point, or folks that have been around a while. So we'll go to the next slide. I gotta step on the gas here a little bit, folks. Sorry. Richard still got his big part. All right. So when you're extending discovery, remember we talked about that beautiful color of the power supply of the computer. When you do this piece, make sure you're using patterns. Obviously, everybody should be using patterns, should have already converted over. If anybody's still solely on probes and sensors, um, move. Get to migrating over as soon as you can. Gives you great updates. We do all of our development in patterns today. Probes and sensors aren't going anywhere because technically a pattern being triggered is a probe triggering a pattern run. So make sure you're on patterns. Use the extension sections, um, and duplicate out of box patterns where you need to make them your own. If you follow my blog, I've got videos of how I've done all these different pieces. So make sure you get these sections as you want to try new things out, and then understanding the pre and post processing scripts. We got great community articles that can help talk to those as well. Next. Again, agent client collector, we've talked about this to death. Well, not to death. If Ryan came off mute, he'd talk us to death about agents. But they're great. They're great to have and available. They talk right to the mid server, and the mid server communicates with ITOM, excuse me, with the instance. And we also have in mid server lists technology that I am not that well conceptual around. So that I will leave to better individuals, smarter individuals at a later time. But we do have these cloud services available with that don't need a mid server. So really excited about that capability. All right, next slide. And here we got the Kubernetes visibility agent. Um, Really big piece. Obviously, everybody loves the container worlds, and I think it's kind of getting pushed out by AI because the AI is the new kid on the block, almost so to speak. But here it's still a very powerful tool that we have available, that can be able to send events and such straight to ServiceNow. So if you have an environment such as that, realize it's a great practice to be able to utilize this agent and then get that CMDB current and relevant. All right, next slide. All right, that's the end of my bit. Thank you, everybody, for that time. Apologize, I had to speed up a little bit there at the end, but Richard's going to be showing us some really cool stuff. And thank you, Derek, for giving me the opportunity to be able to talk to our great friends out there. Everyone, awesome to see you all here, and thank you. And here's Richard.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so in the last 10 minutes, I'm going to demonstrate the Discovery Admin Workspace. First, lots of great questions coming in there. Typing as quickly as I could to keep up. Doug, don't forget to give me a couple of questions there about your own personal blog, or give me your home address or something, whatever works. This is the Discovery Admin Workspace, which I'm demonstrating, which is really now the one-stop shop for managing discovery schedules, managing your discovery results. It's incredibly helpful. And we developed this really for a number of reasons. One, there's just so much information that people need to have access to, and going to one single hub really helps. But also, we've got customers with enormous discoveries going on, tens of thousands of devices. They just needed a better interface. And by the way, you could still use all the old interfaces, all the old stuff is still there. So let's go through this. So I'm logged into my machine, Discovery Admin Workspace. By the way, it's no additional license for it. It's included with all of your stuff. It's a workspace you're going to get from the workspaces. You just activate it. What I'm showing you is the latest release, which is available in May. Everything I'm showing you has been released. So first on, just the home page in the admin console, it just shows you some of the tasks. You can create tasks after discovery schedules fail. But I want to show a couple other things from this home. Just the quick dashboard, the active schedules you have, the error tasks. We are tracking schedules with anomalies. One of the things we are now doing is something that we used to do as a service. This Discovery Admin Workspace will analyze your mid servers and your discoveries and tell you, using AI, what's working and what's not working, what needs to be looked at. So this is really cool. I'm going to show it in the screen a little bit later. So other things just here, some quick links here to visibility apps, certificate inventory management, the CMDB Workspace, Service Mapping Plus, and some of the learnings. Knowledge base articles, videos, blogs. We update this on a regular basis. Click on the videos and you get a link to out-of-the-box videos, recordings of beers with engineers, which hopefully you guys have gotten invites to some of that. It's highly recommended. Just other videos that we've had of how to do things. So we're trying to make this a lot easier for people who are brand new, who aren't the longtime power users. You don't need a Google search, different blogs, blog articles. We publish them all the time. Support writes knowledge base articles all the time. Knowledge articles, they come from support, just many things here. Many of them come from a Google search as well, but just being able to click on it here, that's just the home. On the schedules side, you can see all the different discovery schedules you have, a nice graph that shows the trends of this, the schedules with anomalies, which I'm going to show later, different categories, and whoa, look at this, schedules by location. When you set up a schedule, you say what location, that location attribute gets applied to all the CIs discovered in that schedule, and you see it on a beautiful map. I mean, this is just one of these really cool things. How many schedules that you actually see in different countries. All of ours in our demo environment are the United States of America, but you might have different schedules run from mid servers in other locations around the world, or you specify them around the world. And then you can see here the different discovery schedules and the different discovery statuses. Okay, so now another thing on our diagnostics. So now let's just take a look at what do we get from all this anomaly stuff. Okay, so it's showing this is one of the schedules and the anomaly detection. It's analyzing it. Oh, there was a low CI discovery rate, 10% less, 10 less discovered than the average, or 22%, or a long run time. So these are things that you need to take note of, because this happens when, like, say a credential is expired, it doesn't work. You're going to get a block of devices that used to be discovered and will no longer be discovered. And you need it to point this out to you quickly. If there was a long runtime as well, there could be a lot of timeouts. There could be just a larger number of devices that exist. These are things that need to be brought to your attention immediately when you're dealing with large discovery schedules. So this is what, why we have it. So learn more about the anomaly detection here. Here's where we have the typical, the diagnostics, and where we consolidate these things, SNMP connection failed, and then a link to a knowledge-based article that will describe it. So we're now putting in links to knowledge-based articles as we are seeing the failures and the other things. Pattern failures, bad requests. Now, we had some of this functionality before, but now here we can create tasks that can be assigned to people that they can work on. So using ServiceNow as ServiceNow. Okay, I want to point one really cool thing out on Insights, and it's a new functionality we have called Shazam Insights. Shazam Insights, now for those on the phone, hopefully you're all familiar with what the Shazam does. It's basically our port scanning. But in the past, when we would scan IP addresses, we would see, an ECCQ input that you'd have to go into for every IP address to tell you what ports it has available. The Shazam input sites lets me immediately understand right here all the SSH ports, the WinRM ports. You see the numbers of ports open that we have detected on each discovery status within the network range. So it's really cool here. I can actually go into this network range on the Shazam Insights, and then we could see, okay, here's a lot of these details. But no, I mean, this is big, because this is what we get customers saying, how many of what types of devices. I could see how many SSH devices, how many Windows devices that I have, and then HTTP, these could be like SAN storage devices, different network devices for the SNMP. So really cool stuff. And again, I want to give a thank you to Doug Schulze, because he actually came up with this idea and they finally put it in the product. And by the way, we still get some of our best improvements on our product from our customers. We steal ideas from our customers as well. So please keep giving us the ideas. Okay, so a few other things. Tuning. So we're actually now analyzing your ServiceNow discovery, mid servers, your class, just a tuning, whatever we could look for. Your health score. We run these checks to see, is your discovery configuration up to what we consider acceptable? Where are things maybe failing? Where might there be a problem that you should address? Are there discovery credentials that have been disabled? Mid servers not validated, mid servers with errors in it, a mid server version that's out of version, the SNMP classification priority. There's a whole bunch of checks that exist within with just a standard check scan that we used to just provide as a service. Now we're providing automatically as a tuning setting out of the box. If I click here on the checks, it'll actually say some of the different checks that we actually run. Credentials, discovery schedules, probe results, caching, service affinity should be enabled, just one thing after another. Really, really helpful. So, for those who've been like trying to do this stuff manually, we're trying to make this a lot easier. Okay, just a couple other things. Diagnostics, so Content 360. Did I discover that? Oh yeah, the Content 360. So the AI application fingerprints. As we perform discovery, we will find processes running on your machines that we think should be applications, and we will create fingerprints out of them. And then we have this content service that you have to enable. And when you enable it, you're basically opting in. This opt-in here you see at the bottom, this says I'm willing to share the analysis of prospective applications with ServiceNow. When you opt in, ServiceNow will centrally receive all the information on these application fingerprints, and we will use this data to decide what application patterns that we're going to release in our monthly pattern release. Content service suggestions and application service fingerprints. So again, really cool stuff. This used to be actually in a different interface. Now it's all here in the Discovery Admin Workspace. I highly recommend it. Of course, you can still use the old ways, but hopefully you can appreciate, for those who aren't already using this, that the few things I've shown you could be really helpful. Okay, and I've just gotten us to the end of the hour. So, Derek, there's been an extreme amount of content on the chat and the questions. So clearly you guys are very interested in all of this. We still have 17 outstanding questions on the Q&A. And Derek, you still there?
Sorry, just get myself off mute. Yeah, sorry about that. Just wanted to, apologize. We couldn't get to all the QAs. Appreciate all of the questions that are answered.
153 different questions that we got in this 1 hour session.
Yeah,
Where
yeah, it's a lot of questions to get through. And appreciate everybody's participation, and we'll cover some existing capabilities, probably maybe do another one where we address some of these questions in another future webinar. Just wanted to let you know that all the previous Lowson webinars are available, and you can scan this QR code, and I also pasted the link in the chat for the ITOM Academy, and I also placed links for other solutions as well. And then, Richard had mentioned Beers with Engineers, right? There's the microsite here, and you can get on-demand link for watching those videos as well. Just wanted to let you know that this recording will be saved with the presentation on the community page. So if you just go to the ServiceNow community, go to the ITOM Product Hub, and then find events, you will find today's, a calendar view with today's event, and you can go watch that and download the deck. I once again appreciate everybody's participation and all the great questions that you've asked, and look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to Doug and Richard and Ryan and Gabby and Steve for answering the questions and a great presentation and demos. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.